Hi guys, today is the 6th of March 2019 at 48 minutes past 12 in the UK, and the US has deployed advanced THAAD missile defense system to Israel. It's interesting because the US recently purchased the Iron Dome system from Israel, so it seems as if the two countries sharing missile defense systems are preparing for retaliation or attacks on their homelands, and you can only surmise that that would come if there was to be some form of engagement with the most likely um, country being Iran. Keep an eye on that. India and Pakistan have clashed again, with Pakistan saying that an Indian submarine tried to enter its waters in the Arabian Sea, and this has escalated tensions between the two nuclear powers again. India claims that the video is fake and that they're using it as propaganda. Pakistan obviously claim it's real. So again, we're still looking at these two countries. It's interesting that they weren't on the cards initially, as in countries we were looking at. We were looking at obviously North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Russia, China, Iran, Israel, the United States, Germany, the UK. But here we have India and Pakistan entering into the fray as well. And obviously we know IPEC-02 video-wise, they're significant in terms of nuclear powers, even more significant, so keep an eye on that. North Korea's Kim Jong has just arrived back to North Korea after the failed summit with Donald Trump. Now I say failed summit in a tentative way because obviously we don't know what was agreed to. One thing I'm pretty sure of is this whole peace process is a false peace process. North Korea has never been intent on denuclearizing, and they've shown that through their actions. And as I've said before, years and years and years of tensions between North Korea and the United States can't be wiped out that quickly. The way that Kim Jong has switched from offensive rhetoric to, you know, placating Donald Trump, in a sense, kind of goes to tell you that he switched up his game plan. So there's something else bubbling underneath. And obviously after this summit, he took a tour through China. So obviously probably met up with Xi Jinping, as he often does before and after these summits. So there's clearly some coordination and cooperation between the Chinese government and the North Korean regime, which is a detriment to the United States. But to save face, which in itself can be a detriment, Donald Trump says that everything's fine, that the talks are going well. Obviously, because if he's honest, you know, I'll say it, the left mainstream media would pounce on that. They find ways to pounce on it either way, but obviously if he came back and admitted that things weren't going the way that he hopes they would, then there'd be a lot more talk. And Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he is not a person that can take criticism very well. So any criticism, he tends to lash out, and that's what would happen. And it's a detriment in a president because you're always going to be criticized. So you kind of have to have tough skin, and if you don't, you have to kind of worry about the reactions that can come out of particularly emotional events. At the same time, while North Korea has given, in my opinion, nothing in terms of denuclearizing or giving up their nuclear sites, or even the only thing they've stopped doing is nuclear testing and missile testing. And as I've said before, why do you need to test when your last test that you did was a success? So, you know, it's kind of pointless. There's no need to test. They can just go ahead and keep on developing the missiles that tested as a success. So having a smaller, they're not totally cancelling the drills. They have kind of stopped the large drills, which are Foal Eagle and Foal Resolve. Sorry, Foal Eagle and Key Resolve. Those two exercises we talked about last year or the last 2 years. But having a smaller, scaled down version just reduces your readiness in the event that you need to be ready. So where a military person, a member of personnel, may be in a position to I don't know, respond to a command or to issue a command in a state of reduced readiness. They may not be there or in that heightened state of readiness, so things can take a little bit longer to fly down the chain of command, which obviously isn't a benefit when, you know, the border between North and South Korea is literally a couple of steps, which is the DMZ, and you have thousands of civilians, thousands of South Korean military personnel, and thousands of American military personnel within artillery range of North Korea. So, you know, it wouldn't take very long for them to start firing, but it would take a longer time to respond in this reduced state of readiness. South Korea is also warning that North Korea is restoring part of a launch site it promised to dismantle. So South Korean intelligence agencies have detected signs that North Korea is restoring part of a missile launch site it began to dismantle after pledging to do so in a first summit with US President Donald Trump last year, South Korea's Yonhap news agency reported on Tuesday. Now, the report doesn't clarify exactly when the South Korean intelligence service picked up that North Korea were restoring this site, but nevertheless, we have the report now, and it's after this summit, this failed summit, and after the exercises between the US and South Korea have been reduced. So, as I said, it just seems North Korea is pushing along on its way, and to save face, we're not being told the truth from the top of the American government. March the 8th is the date that I've got on watch, March the 7th, March the 8th, that's in my last video, and it's also First Adar, and the part that interests me is the Jewish history. The ninth plague to strike the Egyptians for their refusal to release the children of Israel from slavery, a thick darkness that blanketed the land so that no man saw his fellow and no man could move from his place. Basically, pure darkness, we know that's one of the plagues. And I was thinking about it in modern day terms, if they were to manipulate this historic event on the day historically it happened. So the Egyptians were, obviously we know, the height of their civilization. They were wealthy, prosperous, they were doing really well for themselves, kind of like the modern day America. And in this situation, there's the refusal to release the children of Israel from slavery, where we don't have children of Israel in slavery at the moment, but we do have children in cages that haven't been reunited with their families. And you could draw parallels with that. A rich society, Egyptians, Americans, refusal to release the children. We've got that going down. And then we've got the thick darkness that blanketed the land. And obviously, I think that's related to the cyber attack, the EMP, or the blackout, however that occurs, whether that's through nuclear power station meltdowns or, as I said, EMP or cyber attack. But the interesting thing is these things can be localized. So if you're looking at EMP, obviously you're looking at a more nationwide event. If you're looking at a cyber attack, it can be more localized. The same can be said of a nuclear power station meltdown. Obviously, I've looked at a nuclear power station in El Paso, Rio Grande, that part of Texas. They have their own power grid, so if something was to happen there, it would be a state thing, Texas only. But in this event, I'm looking at the City of Lights, and that's for obvious reasons, because obviously if you're going to go into a situation where you've got darkness, then maybe it's talking about the City of Lights, the nickname for Las Vegas. And obviously there was the Las Vegas shooting there in 2017, and I'm just drawing some parallels here. On the 8th of March, Justin Timberlake will be performing at the T-Mobile Arena. which is basically in the center of Las Vegas. Time start 7:30. I'm looking for around that time again, 8:30. So the interesting thing with this is the parallels with the number 3 and the number 8. Justin Timberlake himself is 38. He'll be performing on March the 8th, which is 3 and 8. And obviously his show will start at 7:30. I'll be looking at around the 8:30 mark, which again is another reference to 3 and 8. So 3 sets of 3 and 8 there. I don't know if that's significant numerically, but I find it significant just in the terms of the correlations. One man, one event, all happening on March the 8th in Las Vegas, the City of Lights, on the same day historically where the 9th plague hit Egypt and it was darkness due to the Egyptians' refusal to release the children. And as I said, you can draw parallels with the modern day version, America being the more prosperous society like the Egyptians, and the release of the children relating to possibly the children in cages. We know that in the iPad Go 2 video, as I said, this is like a seance, so no sound, no moving imagery. But in the very beginning, you've got the kid in the cage, the barbed wire. Clearly looks like a reference to the kids in cages down at the border, with the fencing that they've got going up there and everything else. In the background, you can see the reference to emergency lighting. Everything else is dark. Power station meltdown. Again, that just gives you a reference to a blackout of some kind being possibly connected with the kids in cages. If that's true, then maybe it refers to the Plague of Darkness, which happened on the 1st of Adar, which is March the 8th this year. You guys, I think actually that's not all I wanted to bring to you. There was one last thing just on the map here. The T-Mobile Arena is just here where Justin Timberlake will be playing. Obviously, in terms of a nuclear event causing the blackout, Nevada is well known as, you know, a nuclear test site. They've done a lot of experiments there, and not far from Las Vegas Center is the Death Valley Junction. And obviously, when I saw that, it just drew conclusions to the Valley of Death. Yea, though I walk through the Valley of the Shadow of Death, I will fear no evil. That's a reference to Psalm 23, and obviously we know that in the iPad Go 2 video, Psalm 23 is predominantly referenced right outside of the classroom where we have that particular reference. The last thing I want to point out just with this scene, I thought about it before and kind of put it to the side, but if this is 23, and I know it could be looked at as a V or it could be looked at as various different ways, like a 7 or whatever, but if we are looking at it as, well, in fact, if you look at it as a 7, you've got 7/3, 7th of March, another date. That's one of them we're looking out for. But what I was going to say is you got the 2 and you got the 3, and I'm not sure if you can see just here. I'll try and make it bigger. Let's see if we can see it a little bit more clearly. But just here, indented, is the number 3. If you follow the mouse, you should be able to see it there. If I move it away, you can see the number 3 there. So 223, that adds up to 8. And if you take it just from here, that's M223 or M8. Could be March 8th. It could not be. I'm just pointing it out because I see it. Apart from that, you guys, I think I've covered everything else I wanted to cover. Be wary, March 7th, March 8th. It is shaping up to be significant with all the events that are going on between India and Pakistan, and the THAAD missile system being moved to Israel, and the Iron Dome being moved to America, Russia with its Poseidon, and you know everything else. It just looks very significant. That doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but it does mean we should pay attention and be wary just in case. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.